Good afternoon everyone, it's Jim here from Hobie Fishing. I'm here with Massie from Juro Oz Pro Tackle.
You got it right, Jim.
I did. Thank you very much. And good to see you, Rick.
Yeah, good to see you.
Mate,
great to be back at the Hobie series after the year from hell last year.
Mate, it's been a long time. You know, just over 12 months since we've had our round at BEM, and we were biting at the bit to get out and see you guys. Like we have still been out visiting our dealers and stuff like that, but we haven't had the chance to be out there and seeing the people, 100 odd people we see at the rounds every time. So yeah, we've missed being out there too.
Yeah, and being a Victorian, we really got locked down severely, you know, 100 odd 13 days I think it was, we were locked down at home, you know, so it was pretty tough. So it's been great to finally get out.
Absolutely.
And actually catch up with old friends too.
Yeah, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons. Rick, you and fishing, you love your fishing?
Definitely love my fishing.
Where did it all start?
Started for me at the age of only 2 in Adelaide. My dad was in the army, so we actually moved around a lot. So from a young age, started fishing. Dad was a keen angler, but not super keen. His father, though, was a super keen angler. He grew up on King Island most of his life, so surrounded by water. Yep. So from 2 I fished. When I turned about 5 or 6, we moved to Puckapunyal, or Seymour. So I become a trout fisherman up on the Goulburn, and progressed from there to fly fishing. And I actually really loved my fly fishing from 16 to about 21, and sort of achieved everything with that. Sort of did the Australian Fly Fishing Championships and all those things, and then got into the lure fishing and plastic fishing for bream at about 23. So it was about over 25 years ago. Yeah.
Now you've been with Juro for a long time.
30 years.
Yeah. So. You've had a lot to do with the development of lures. You're continuing to develop the lures and everything for them at the moment.
So right from the start, like 25 years ago when I started in the bream fishing, we developed a lure called the Firebait Longtail Minnow, which is a hugely popular soft plastic with a lot of the bream anglers, and I think it's actually won 2 ABT Grand Finals, that particular lure. So so it's been a successful lure for many years, and over the time it's just progressed with other brands, including lures like Strike Pro.
Yes.
Particularly over the last 20 years, we've just continued to develop more models. Yeah. You know, and it's a fantastic job to have, where I can help develop and design something that then anglers go out and use and catch fish on. So,
on that, what is your role?
I'm the national sales manager for Juro Oz Pro Tackle. Yep. But yeah, as a part of that, I've also been involved with a lot of development of product as well. So a lot of it initially was just colours that we selected and colour designs we were making for lures, but in the last few years there's more lure design definitely going into it. The Strike Pro Enticer soft plastic range, I developed the entire range of that. So so that was something that went from drawings through to 3D quad cam computers, right through to moulded products developed in 3 or 4 different density of plastics, and going through and testing the ranges till we got what exactly we wanted.
And you get to test that.
Yeah, and get to test it. And the great thing is, a lot of the time with this testing of product, and in particular in the Hobie series, we've been very successful with Strike Pro over the years with new product that we've been bringing out that hasn't been released to the market, and then we've gone to comps, and between myself and 3 or 4 of our sponsored anglers, we've actually won a number of events with those new prototype lures.
Now jumping down that hole, you at Marlo.
That's correct.
2013, I think we were saying before.
Yep.
Yeah, you qualified for the Worlds there.
That's correct.
What was your bag?
My day 1 bag was the record still for the Hobie series, which was a bag of 4.68 kilo for 3. 3 fish,
not
fish.
4.
Yeah,
3
only
fish.
Only 3.
So this is the thing. Like we now fish for 4 and 3. It depends on the arena and what we feel the waterway is going to uphold. But yeah, to know that that's a 3 fish limit. Fair enough if we were talking 4, but yeah, it's
and it was a dream day. It was one of those dream days. I got to my spot, which was only 300 metres from the start, and in 8 casts I'd landed 7 fish.
I know. I think I'd already gone up the river system looking for my donuts, and I was heading up, and basically probably I just passed that first island, you were bagged out.
Yeah, it was pretty quick, and unfortunately I dropped the fish that I did drop on about the 3rd cast was a 2+ kilo fish, so I got him up to the kayak on a couple of occasions, and he made the 183, which was the biggest one I had that day, look small.
Yeah, right.
But it was one of those silly mistakes in all the excitement, catching fish. I didn't actually cut the knot and retie the knot. So, and unfortunately all I got back was a little pink
porky
curly
little tail.
So yeah,
Yep.
so obviously I should have actually cut it off and retied the lure on, but I actually changed the colour of the lure after that. I lost that fish, and the other colour actually was more successful. So and that was the Strike Pro Hummer. So it was before it was released. So
but that's also done pretty well in, I think, Clark or someone, one of those guys, or Joel did really well in Marlo with the Hummer when it was dirty water.
That was the Astro Vibe actually.
Astro Vibe.
So and again that was another prototype lure. So
it was a really dirty. We had a dirty water line, and they were just.
It was a future comp, and in that comp actually, Crozza did win that comp, and Corey Gallagher actually came second. So we had a 1-2. And that was 2 years in a row at Marlo. We had pretty big success. So. And I think even at that event, one of the guys got the big brim on a Cyber Vibe at that event too. So but it's just been one of those things. We've been fortunate with new releases when we've had them, or the prototypes, and our pro anglers have had them. We seem to have had great success at tournaments.
So, moving further out, which area are you from? You're from Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm from Melbourne. I'm fortunate. I live at a place called Patterson Lakes.
Oh, okay, yes. We've had an event there.
We've had an event there. So, I only live 50 metres off the water. So, it's, a fantastic venue. It was one of those comps that everyone thought I was going to win, and I think we got about 8 inches of rain just before the event.
Did Nick
Mace won that. Nick Mace won it.
Yeah.
So, and Nick fishes it a bit as well. But I fish it most weekends, and I think everyone thought, oh, he's got this in the bag. But I was silly enough at that comp that we had 8 inches of rain just prior to the event, and I tried to think outside the box and do things differently to how I normally do it, and should have just done what I normally do.
Yeah, but, and because it was also a one-day comp, it was, you didn't have a second day to redeem yourself or anything like that. It was just over and done with.
I hope one day we actually get back there, because I think it's one of those venues that can actually hold. It can hold a 2-day event, and it can hold 50+ kayaks on it.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
It's so close to the city.
Fantastic.
But I think just at the time that day we had terrible rain leading into the event, and the water was chocolate. So
it was. I think there was, if I remember, there was a lot of people worried about the lock system. What's going to happen if the lock system opens or closes on this? I can't control it.
No. But it's a great venue to go and practice and test prototype lures in too.
Yeah. We're sitting in front of your Hobie here.
Yes.
Now this is a Pro Angler 12.
Yep.
It's probably 2013, 14?
2013. So prior to this I had the Outback, so I started in the Outback and loved the Outback, but when the Pro Anglers came out, I decided, waited a couple of years and upgraded to the 12.
Because Hobie released the Pro Angler 12 before they released the 14, and the 12 had that little bit of a while, the new seat, and the 14 still had the old seat for that little bit.
Yep.
And probably only 9 or so months, but
I went for the 12 mainly because of where I fish at home, because in the paddo it's a very tight system, a lot of, you're fishing a lot of more boats and stuff, and just being 2 foot shorter, it's just a lot easier to get around a lot of those tight locations. And that's why I went to 12 over the 14.
Yeah, okay. So you've fitted out your kayak. I see there's a lot of bling on here. But it's also in very good nick, by the way. You've gone and done some modifications at the back for your tackle trays. You've gone and put some lights under your running boards on the side. The one thing I noticed straight away this morning was, when I saw your kayak, was you've got a sounder in the middle. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people put them to the side, and you and I both went to the same topic. It's you go to net a fish or you do anything over the side of the boat, and it's in the way. It's in the way,
or even when you're just doing cast retrieving as well, like a lot of the time when you're trying to work the rod, it's in the way. So that's why I put it in the middle. Because apart from fishing for bream, I do a lot of soft plastic fishing in Port Phillip Bay for snapper.
Yes.
And again, I'm only using this light bream gear, but landing 4 and 5 and 6 kilo snapper on this light gear. So again, you're moving around the kayak a fair bit. So having things in the side in your way, they get in the way. And I've thought about everything with the kayak, like even little simple things like putting D-shackles here to have things like scissors, pliers, all in accessible spots. But all stainless steel, so no rust or anything. So everything's got its place. Yeah.
Oh, it's very well organised, but that's the way you need it. So it's a credit to you. It's a nice kayak. I'm looking past you to the rods as well, and sorry to jump away from the kayak subject, but you've got a lot of rods there with all the same name above them. So tell us more about them. Yeah,
so they're a range of rods that we've done from Strike Pro for many years, called the Nano Edge. They're a 1 to 3 kilo stick. Unfortunately, they are being discontinued.
Oh no.
Yeah, so unfortunately with COVID, we were supposed to go over into in March to. Strike Pro's made a massive investment actually with a major Japanese company in a new factory in Taiwan. and it's a rod factory.
Yep.
So in the future, Strike Pro will have a massive range of rods coming out.
Okay.
As soon as we can get overseas and develop the rod range, we'll do it, because it's not something we're going to try to do over emails.
Yeah.
It will be an upmarket range of rods, so we want to get it right and go over and develop the blanks right from start to finish.
Yep. So you've also got some new lures here. You've got some new hard bodies.
Yes, yeah, a couple of new hard bodies that prototypes again for this weekend, which this fella here. So it's called the Crash SP.
Yes.
So it's a new deep diver that we've done. It dives to 4 metres.
Yep.
So it's a small lure, but quite weighty in 5.1 gram. It's got a weight transfer system in it. Yep. The thing with a lot of these small lures with the big bibs is they're not very aerodynamic generally. They catch a lot of wind and the casting's an issue, but with the weight transfer system in it, it weighs 5 gram. It's got quite a large bearing in it. It casts really well even into the wind. And the great thing with the design is we've made sure that it suspends in salt water.
Yeah, okay. Tested in salt water, not in fresh.
Fresh water, So, the tanks at the Strike Pro factory are fresh water, but they sent 3 lots of prototypes out to us of this lure before we were finally happy with the final product.
What hooks are you running on these?
We generally run owner ST36 BCs.
Yes.
Sometimes we run decoy.
Yep.
So they're the 2 hooks we generally run.
Yes.
So it just depends on supply.
So they're already rigged with a really good quality hook.
Hooks,
so it's not one of those ones that you pull out of the packet and change it out. It's ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go straight away.
Yep.
And that's one thing with Strike Pro, with all their lures, whether that be the lures here in Australia that we use for our bream and species like that, or when you go to Europe, like when
the guys went to
go to Sweden. Strike Pro is massive in Sweden, and their team over there at CWC are all tournament anglers as well. They fish all those predator tours and had great success winning all those tours as well.
Yep.
And they design and develop all their lures straight away.
It was insane to see. I think Strike Pro really helped the Australian guys when they went over to Amor, and I think even before that when they went to Europe in maybe 13, 14.
Oh, and 14. also the boys that have been to China to the Cairn tournament a few times.
Chasing the snakes.
Yeah, well, the Strike Pro side vibe's been they're winning lure for
it has,
nearly every year. So Matty P basically every year has made sure they've got
I used it when I went there as well.
They go. So so it's been successful even at that tournament too.
Absolutely. Now I see you've got a crab imitation.
Yeah, so that's one of the Strike Pro soft plastics that I've designed and developed.
Yes. And that's the Enticer.
The Enticer crab. Yeah. So great little crab. The great thing with all these soft plastics is they're all scent impregnated, so there's actually the scents impregnated into them.
Yes.
They're neutral buoyant, so they'll float as well. So if you run it on a worm hook, you can fish it over the top of oyster racks, things like that. Obviously, I've got this rigged on a jig head, but even with the samples of these, when we got these, the factory sent these to us in 4 different densities of plastic material, and I rigged them all with the same jig heads, and then tested them all in tanks till we actually worked out which material we're using in each plastic. So, surprisingly, the crab uses a different plastic material to the 3-inch grub and the bug, and then the 2-inch grub we're using a different material again.
Yeah, okay.
So, and that gave the best action of each lure. So surprisingly, the heavier, stiffer plastic material actually gave the best action on the crab.
Yep.
So I would have felt the softer the material, the more action, but actually the legs flop.
Yeah,
with the heavier, stiffer material, we get this beautiful vibration. So when you see these in the water, they just swim and look like a little crab. The legs just flutter and quiver all the way down. So as soon as you shake it, you'll see they just quiver. So, so it's got a great action on it.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Now,
and again, there's not a lot of that sort of style of lure around in soft plastic.
So sorry, and I'm going to jump back to apart from mentioning the Cyber Vibe, it is an awesome lure. I won't take that away from you guys. I've caught many fish on that myself, but you had a colour that you've been playing with yourself recently.
So that's this colour here. This is a colour that we did in the Cyber Vibe.
So it's got that bit of a
it's a matte finish with a crackle back on it.
The crackle through it.
Orange UV underbelly.
Yeah.
Which is called the JU020ES is the colour.
Yep.
But this is the first time we've done it in a hard body. So with this Crash SP, when people see the colours that we've done in the Crash SP, they're generally more natural dark colours.
I like that profile there, looking through that, it's got that smelt sort of colour through the bottom of it as well.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing a lot of anglers have got to realise too, when you start fishing lures that are diving down 4 metres, the fish are actually taking it not so much as a bait fish. They're taking that lure more as a crab or a soft shell, things like that. So those items are generally dark colours, you know, the natural browns, blacks. So hence a lot of the lures in that sort of style, you want that darker natural colour, not the shiny.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, glossy
the
colours,
shiny stuff
basically.
normally just catch the fisho.
Yeah, catches the fisho. And with this style of lure, no, you really want something that's going to imitate crabs in particular, because in a lot of cases that's what the fish are taking it as.
Yep. And I also see Strike Pro on your reel.
Yeah, so this is a new range of reels that we did bring out this year from Strike Pro. So this is their upmarket reel called the Strike Max. So it's a 10 ball bearing reel, full alloy body.
Yeah.
Internally it's all stainless steel and brass.
Yeah, okay.
It's got waterproof drag seals on it, rust resistant bearings, so it's got all the key features that you'd expect in a reel.
Very nice.
And it comes from a little 2000 size right up to a big 6000, so
Okay.
they've got all the sizes covered.
Yep.
I've got a couple of the sizes there, so the braid outfits I'm running the smallest size, and the straight through fluorocarbon I'm running the next size up.
Yeah, okay. Cool. We are here currently at Lakes Entrance. Well, sorry, we're not at Lakes Entrance, we're at Nicholson River.
Nicholson River, yeah.
Have you fished here much?
This would be the first time I've actually fished the Nico.
The river itself?
The river itself, yeah. So fished the lake a lot, the Tambo.
You were at our Paynesville events?
Yeah, the Paynesville event, yeah. So I think I came third at that event that year. So and that was a tough event. So we had really a lot of rain during that event. But yeah, I do love the Gippsland Lakes.
Yes.
It's a fantastic venue, and it's great to be back here, not just after COVID, but also after the effects that they had earlier in the year with the bushfires as well.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, it's only 10 kilometres from here, they had severe bushfires. So
no, there's definitely a lot that the local council, Gippsland, or East Gippsland Shire Council, is doing to help events like us come back here as well. You know, especially the ones that are catch and release.
Yeah, and also even fisheries too, with the program that they developed in Victoria with what they call the Golden Tag program. So they've tagged
after the bushfires.
Yeah, a heap of fish throughout Victoria, and some fish were worth $10,000, others were worth $2,000.
Someone got
last
one
year
at
Bem River? Yeah, one of the guys caught a perch. Yeah, it was the first actually fish to be caught.
Yeah, it was. It was a $10,000 fish, wasn't it?
2,000, I think. It might have been a 10.
And then quite possibly, yeah. I know I heard more people at Malakuta got fish.
Yep.
And, yeah. So Malakuta, that's another one we're about to go to.
Yeah,
you're
Malakuta.
in for that?
Yeah, I should be in for Malakuta. I love the Malakuta venue. So again, one of my favourite fisheries, and again, it'd be great to get back and support the locals after what they've been through down there as well.
We really tried to get there. We had about 2 attempts to get there last year. We're on our second attempt come June this year.
Yep.
It's going to be good to fish it when it's cold.
Yeah, it actually fishes really well actually that time of year. Surprisingly, a lot of people bag Victorian weather, but this East Gippsland region actually gets more sunny days than any other part of the state. Even Juro doesn't have as many sunny days as down here, so it's sort of the Riviera during the winter. So I expect that comp in June to be quite cool, brisk mornings, but you'll probably find the days will be blue sky and very still with not much wind.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, but usually that happens a lot at that time.
Yeah, look, I mean, there is certain months that are a little bit more stable, but running tournaments for as long as we have, it looks great until you get there.
Yeah, that's so true.
So, but we'll see how we go. Favourite lure for here, if you could give that up, because I don't know if this will go out tonight or next week. Or
I suppose my favourite lure in the Strike Pro range, actually I can grab it out, I've got it here, in my box here, is a very underrated lure in the Strike Pro range, but it's just a versatile lure, and it's called the Bass X.
Yes.
And it's probably, if I was going to have one lure I'd put on as a go-to lure, that would be it. It's a 5.5 centimetre sort of mid diver, so
big eyes, very big high bump in the back.
Gets down to around 6 feet, so it runs at a good depth. So the great thing with this, I can fish it over shallow flats, 2-3 foot, and dig it into the bottom and really kick up sand.
Yes.
Or I can fish second drop-offs with it, or even deeper holes with it. So it's just a versatile lure. Very underrated lure in the Strike Pro range.
And the colour is?
That particular colour is Juro 17G. So yeah, it's a UV colour. That's probably my favourite colour and model to use anywhere in Gippsland.
Yep.
Like anyone that sees me at Bem River will always see that's the first lure I'll be throwing at Bem River generally.
Yep. Favourite lure for Malakuta?
Malakuta. Well, it depends on the time of year.
It's not. When I said it's going to be cold, it's going to be colder. June's cool.
It could be a vibe. It could be where I'm using cyber vibes. It could even, you still might even be using surface, like something like a slinky minnow.
The thing I like about the Kuta round now is where we're actually running it from Carbathon. So instead of running it from the township, I love being in the township, but then I also like having the event where you're actually, you're in the middle. So where we start, you know.
Yeah, it splits the field up a little bit with Carbathon, which is great. You go up the Narrows, we can go up and we can fish, you know, Palmer's Bank, we can go all the way up to the point. Right. Or we can fish lower down the system around Goodwood Sands or head right down the front. Absolutely. So it opens up the arena a lot more starting from Carbathon.
That's what we've noticed. Like seeing events earlier where, back in I think about 2012, we were running with boats in the early series, and you know, we would start at the front, and by the time you get up to the Narrows, you know, it's all been burnt.
Yeah, no, I did the first year where we shared it with the boats, and yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, it's tough. So the good thing now is we're out on our own, and we get the whole waterway to ourselves.
Yep.
Well, between ourselves and up to 100 odd other anglers.
Anglers, yep. But no, it's a great spot to fish.
That again, that's a pretty cool thing to see the growth of the events and to see how it's gone from, you know, our 30 and 40 competitor days to, you know, we're struggling and we have to cap an event because we're worried we're going to go over 100 or 110 and you know, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and we've seen that particularly at BEM the last 2 years. You know,
117 last year.
Yeah,
so
just huge fields.
Yeah, it was insane, and it's a cool thing to be a part of. And I mean, you guys have been there. Juro's been a part of the event since.
I don't know how long now. I'd have to think back.
Longer than I've been.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like we weren't in the first, I think, 2 years. I think might have been year 3 we came on as a sponsor, but it was very early on in the piece. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that we came on as a sponsor of the series, and we've been happy to continue to support the series since we came on board. No,
and it's been a great. You guys have been great with us. Even having you guys at the event's been great. You know.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I suppose, you know, a lot of the sponsors, you know, they love to sponsor the event, but they don't get out and do it. So, you know, and it's been great that at least I can get out and do it as well.
Good for us. We can put a face to a name, and we know who you are, and so do also all the anglers. So it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and you build a lot of friendships that have lasted a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
All those anglers too.
Definitely. I mean, I still get messages from people or phone calls from people, you know, from back in the 2010s, 11s, 12s that, you know, were fishing the series, and yeah, they've remained friends for a very long time. You've got the same. Yeah,
and the great thing with the Hobie series is it's just a little bit more relaxed than the boat series. I used to do the boat series, be it ABT Vic Brims and so on, before I got into the kayaks, and that was a little bit more serious. You know, it's a little bit more relaxed in the Hobie series, and you know, everyone really gets along well, and it's a great group of guys, and it's probably a bit more of a challenge. Yep. And that's one thing that I enjoy doing with the Hobie series. Obviously, you can only travel so far and you can only do certain speeds in a kayak, so you really have to come in with a really sharp game plan when it comes to a kayak comp. Whereas a boat comp, particularly with the big bass boats these days, if you're fishing an area, you could be at Malakuta and we could be, you know, at Palmer Bank and go, no, it's not fishing that well, and I'm down the front in 5 minutes.
That's right.
You can't do that in a kayak. So with the kayak events, I just find them more challenging.
It's more on the person in the kayak. You've got no one else to call back on and say, oh, you know, with a teams event, you can talk to your teammate, and whether or not you just use them as a sounding board or not. But you can just say, oh, well, I'm going up to the top of the river, I'm going to Palmer's Bank, I'm going here. In a kayak, you just have to commit to something, or you have to lock it in.
It's either you've either made the right choice or you've made a bad mistake, you know, and you'll soon know at the end of the day when you go to weigh in your bag, you know what you've done.
Back in 2013, you made a pretty good call to go and fish.
I probably had some good inside intel, which was probably helped in that comp, you know. So, you know, one of our boys had been down there bait fishing it a couple of weeks before. He just happened to tell me, oh, this bank I fished, every fish I was catching was 4 pound. I thought, okay, well, that's where I need to start.
Absolutely. So, and they were there.
Yeah, and they were there. Just unfortunately, the second day, they'd moved on.
What's your thoughts for this event? What sort of weights are we looking at?
I think the weights will be surprisingly, someone will weigh in at quite a big bag, I think, particularly on day one. I do believe, you know, don't be surprised if someone gets pretty close to that 4 kilo mark for 3.
Right. I was thinking 3. I was thinking a good 3.
Well, you know, one of the boys I saw weigh a couple of fish there today, you know, that were pushing 1.4s.
3 fish for 1.4 each?
Yeah, well, they were all pretty big fish, you know, so you sort of look at it and you go, okay, well, you know, if they're that sort of size,
so
you know, someone's going to... You know,
this was a guy with Strike Pro on the side of his kayak?
No. So it was one of the New South Wales boys. So one of the young guys who's done pretty well, obviously, in the last couple of years since he's come.
Yeah, okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So when I came in, he just happened to be weighing a couple of his fish, and I estimated 1.2, and they put on the weigh scale, and it was 1.45. So
wow.
So you know.
Very nice.
I expect, yeah, there'll be some big bags caught. And I did see some fish today that were massive.
Yeah.
I polarized a couple of fish today that looked 50 plus.
I saw some within a stone's throw of here.
Yep.
So
it's just going to be catching them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They're just mooching. They're just sitting there looking at you. And I think someone said to me earlier, they're just like feeder fish.
Yep.
The fish that I saw, they sort of come up and looking at me as if I was going to throw chips at them.
Yeah, and yeah, so, that's what they're used to. You know,
absolutely.
Particularly when you get into tourist towns or you're close to like where the pubs are and things like that. Fish and chip shops. You know, you get it particularly in a lot of the New South Wales venues. There's fish and chip shop on the water, and the fish get fed chips all the time. You know, so they just get used to it.
Port Macquarie.
Yep, and that's why white plastics generally work in those areas.
They do, they do. All right, so Rick, thank you very much for your time, mate. I do appreciate it.
It's great.
And on behalf of Hobie Fishing, I hope you do really well, and I hope to see you at more and more of these events. It's great to see your smiley face around in the mornings and, you know, at the weigh-ins on the stage. So
yeah, well, as long as I get to the weigh-in, you know, there's nothing worse than coming back in and not going into the weighmaster.
No, let's get you there.
But our next comp, I suppose, I always use that attitude. You know, our next comp's the closest we get into another donut, unfortunately, and it can happen sometimes. So
yeah. I got mine out of the road early. So, mate, thanks again, Rick.
No, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
No worries, Jim.
Talk to you later, mate.